Your guiding light is all I know. Through wood and steel, through fire and lace, I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Is to a throig arcane. You laid the path before me. You guided every step. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the grass the dead time it's sore? We'll build the land, our hearts within. From dawn till dusk, I work, I strive. With your blessing, I'll survive. The loom, the forge, the sword, the grain in your name, I rise again. Got buad, got tolan, got trio. In you lies strength, in you lies skill. Each victory, each talent, each trial. No task too great, no skill too small. Your gifts, dear goddess, guide us all. Nights into falls. Without your light, we have no guide. But with your hand, our place abides. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the grass the dead? Our greatest deed, by the grace of the goddess we are free. We'll build the land, our hearts within. I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Blessed by her grace, forever.
Hello, welcome to another podcast of Pax Dei, The Search for Steel. I just realized as I was coming online and recording that I am not where I should be as far as one of my settings, so I'm going to go back in there and take care of that real quick. Let's see. Advanced properties. I need filters, excuse me. And everything's happening off as you see all the really cool stuff out there. Doing all that cool stuff. The scenery known as Pax Dei. I am going to raise my volume just a little bit so it doesn't cut as much. And we should be good to go. Okay. So, back to it. Sorry about that. Anyway, housekeeping, right? Speaking of housekeeping, this is Pax Dei. So, yeah. Here we are. We've covered in episodes like 131 or 129, we went from critical thinking, where we reminded everybody how to think, and for some people we taught a little bit more in-depth ways of thinking. We went through resilience, which was connected to critical thinking, and that taught us more how to withstand circumstance or life. And then we went into adaptability, which was a long 3-part episode. And that taught us how to pivot. And tonight, we're going to go into resourcefulness. A lot of people don't think about it, but all these are cumulative in their usefulness. Meaning you can get a lot out of this if you so choose. If not, I think you'll get something out of it as a whole. I'm getting all my resources together so I can do a little bit. I should do this before the podcast, but I kind of like to show the preparation it takes for the actual game to be fun. I lecture about thinking and resourcefulness as tonight's. All these ancient philosophies and ways to think and how we dive in deep into our consciousness and we become a part of society for the betterment of ourselves and society. But in the background, I play the game. And I think, like any good game, you should have a little bit of a tutorial in the background. So once we kind of phase in between the good and the bad and the ugly, seeing if anybody's around, because you can see them on your map if they're close by. All right, what are we doing tonight? Well, let's look at our equipment, and then we'll jump into the episode. Oh, not the equipment. We'll go into the journal. All right, so armor smithing seems possible tonight. Let's see what else. Well, let's see if armor smithing's possible. So let's look at armor smithing. I still have some undiscovered stuff, huh? That's if you kill somebody, kill a certain NPC, or you pick up certain herb or material, you get these recipes, and the recipes are based off of you leveling up. Right now I'm armor smith or smith 22. I really need to move that up. So let's see what we can do here tonight as I go into all of the really cool stuff. I have a couple. I have the munition pauldrons, which I already have. I think I can do those already. Yeah, I'm 22. So 23 is where I'm going to be. So let's look at 23. 23 is some armor, more armor, gauntlets. That's cool. Wow, there's a lot in 23. Looks like we're going to go for 23. And that breastplate's one of the best in the game. They just need the devs, if you're listening to me, please do something with customization of armor. Meaning, let us dye depending on the materials that we find. It would be really cool. Let's go over here, and this is my armor bench. And what I need to make this to 23 would be, that's a lot of wire, wrought iron wire, but linen cloth is what I was looking for. So let's see. I might need to, you know what? I'm going to go get some linen so I can make linen cloth. I think I just need linen cloth. So let's see. And one of the best ways of looking at this game is when you're about to do something, look at the amount of stuff you need, right? So this is 14, 4, and 4. This is 9, 4, and 2. So this is actually cheaper to make than the halberd. So we'll take a screenshot, and that's where I was going with that whole run-up. I use this sniping tool, or snipping tool, I don't know what they call that. And I just take a quick picture. And then I'll have it on my other screen so I can follow the requirements. It does say I need a linen cloth, and it's 2 per use, and I'm going to need a lot. What's that? Linen cloth? Ooh. And linen cloth is just made by linen string, and you need 25 linen strings, so that means you need to craft or spool the linen string. So it's 40 flax, and you can get all of that from the home valley, so you don't have to worry there. Let's see. This is a tour, isn't it? It's easy to identify when you're looking around. Just look for the 2-pip, and it'll give you a better indication. I've made a lot of advanced stuff, thinking I needed it, as one would think, and I don't. What I need is the not as advanced stuff. That's wool, cotton. That's rough linen. I don't know when the last time I needed rough linen. And, oh, what is this? Rough wool. Wool. Linen cloth. What I'm doing is I'm going to take the linen cloth and I'm going to put it down in the, near the armor stuff. The armor bench. The armor crafting bench. And why would you do that? Well, one thing you don't want to do is keep running upstairs and downstairs and upstairs. Wherever you put your benches is where you really should think about the efficiency of going back and forth. So essentially, with this, I think I have enough room here. Yeah. All right. So I got some linen string here, and I don't really need the linen string to craft anything. So while I'm doing this, because it takes time to craft the material, and allow me to show you. I'll go to my loom, and it'll take me 40 minutes to do 5. Remember, I'm only using 2 per build. Nope. And I kind of do this, I kind of stagger the builds, just kind of out of habit. And that way I kind of even up the distribution of the output 40 minutes from now. So each one will take 40 minutes. So I'll get 10 in the next 40 minutes. Hope I need weapons. Even in the home valley, you do need weapons. I don't need armor, but I do need weapons. Just so I don't die horribly. I'll bring that, and I'll bring these. It's covering 2 slots, but that's alright. We'll rethink. There we go. And then all of these are flax, so I will gather all that I can after I... Oh, not that. Tea for crafting. I don't need that. I need gathering. And I think this is increased forage yield. So as I forage, I'll have an hour of the goddess's blessing. I call her the goddess. And you'll see the green extra that it provides to me. And that's how we gather quickly. Anyway, at any rate, so let's talk. Let's talk psychology and philosophy, and imagine being confronted with a problem that seems insurmountable. I thought I had the don't need any of that. Unless it's wool, I don't zones. So imagine a problem that's insurmountable. No clear solution, limited tools, high stakes. How do some people manage not only to cope, but to turn that very obstacle into a stepping stone? Well, this ability is what we call resourcefulness, often defined as the ability to find quick and clever ways to overcome difficulties. In other words, when you're resourceful, constraints don't cripple you, they catalyze you. A famous Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, captured this mindset perfectly about almost 2,000 years ago now. He said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Profound, right? In simpler terms, the obstacle is the path. That's it. It's a really profound idea, though. At that point in time, we could call it being black-pilled today. Is there a need to be black-pilled with resourcefulness? We can, once we put in the comments, I think no. If you're resourceful, doesn't matter. It might not be fair. There might be a little bit of animosity toward it. But overall, whatever is standing in your way becomes the way. So our limitation, it basically says that our limitations or challenges can actually become launch pads for growth, right? It's the heart of today's discussion. Welcome. Finally, here's your second welcome. Welcome to episode 134, Resourcefulness, turning limits into launchpads. Snazzy title. Yes, I used AI for that time. In this episode, we'll explore how resourcefulness helps people overcome challenges, innovate solutions, and succeed in various arenas of life, from personal struggles and professional endeavors to the realm of gaming. Yes, even MMORPGs. We'll draw wisdom from the ancient and modern philosophers around the globe, because if you first time to this channel, we love a global philosopher full of knowledge and wisdom. Does that make every philosopher I name moral and awesome and correct all the time? No. But we take their wisdom for what it is. Wisdom. And if we have need for it and it makes sense and we critically think through it, then yes, this is exactly the sources we need to move on. So, we'll share real-world examples, including personal stories. And anybody who is in the comments section, please put your personal story or share it on X. I have an X account. Same as the channel name, essentially. I'm like looking around at the same time, looking at my notes. Workplace case studies and gaming anecdotes. We'll even dip into some fictional analogies that illustrate the power of ingenuity. Along the way, we'll clarify key concepts, which means we'll be providing definitions for uncommon terms. Where am I? Yeah, for any uncommon terms. So don't feel you need to look anything up, but you're more than welcome to look stuff up. Because I really just this stuff. Interesting. Looks like I actually dropped stuff out of my bar. Alright. Anyway. At any rate. And even I've asked AI for some pronunciation guides for the non-English words that we encounter, so everyone can follow along easily. You don't have to take my garbled nonsense word for it. Let's see, what else? Oh, hopefully I'll be able to engage you and encourage you and really give you thought-provoking substance. And it should be a balanced blend to inspire you without ever feeling like a lecture. That's what I'm not here to do. It's a conversation. Unfortunately, because I'm recording it, it's a one-sided conversation until the comment section starts to populate, or I get some responses on X where we can continue the comments or the discussion. Wow. Am I already? Yeah, wow. Okay, well, that is nice. Let's see if I have the, do I have the spells? Yeah, I have the spells. Alright, where am I? I have to, I want to go that. That's a little spell that gets me to move faster for 7 seconds. It's only the first level of the spell. Okay. By the end, I hope you'll see resourcefulness not just as an abstract value, but as a practical mindset that you can cultivate in your own life. But before we dive in, let's break down what we mean by resourcefulness. We want to have that topic of conversation. We want to be on the same definition, right? So why is it so important? Let's start there. What is resourcefulness? At its core, resourcefulness is about creative problem solving under constraints. It's the art of making the most out of what you have, even when what you have is very limited. There's a classic English proverb that says, necessity is the mother of invention. In plain terms, difficult situations inspire ingenious solutions. When we have no choice but to improvise, that's often when our creativity sparks to life. Think about it. If you always have a tool in your let me think about that. If you always have a tool, have every tool, excuse me, let me try it again. If you always have every tool and option at your disposal, you never get inventive. Think about it. If you have everything, why would you be inventive? Darn it. I think I might have some. Nope, I don't have any anywhere. Right. What? Really? Alright, fine. I don't normally do this, but I'll do this time. So I'll just throw it here. I'll deal with it in a second. Okay. But take away the usual resources, and suddenly you're forced to think outside the box. Take MacGyver. He gets a fix from whatever's on hand. Incidentally, MacGyver is pronounced MacGyver, so think about the spelling of MacGyver, and it just doesn't look that way. So for my non-English viewers, it's MacGyver. It was an 80s it became a verb in pop culture, meaning basically to cleverly jury rig a solution from unlikely materials. It was inspired by a resourceful hero of the 1980s TV show who could defuse bombs with paper clips and chewing gum. was the meme. Anyway, to ensure we're on the same page, let's formalize this definition, right? Resourcefulness is the skill of finding quick and clever ways to overcome difficulties. It's closely related to terms like ingenuity, which is inventive cleverness, or improvisation, which is making it up as you go with whatever's available. And it's often described as practical, enterprising, and full of ideas. One key thing to note is that resourcefulness isn't just about solidarity, or isn't about solitary genius or going it alone. In fact, psychologists who study this trait say it comes in two flavors: personal resourcefulness, which basically things you do yourself, aka self-help skills, and social resourcefulness, knowing how and when to seek help or draw on others. Both are important. Sometimes being resourceful means improvising on your own, but other times it means finding the right person or resource to assist you. There's an old African proverb that puts it well. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. In practice, and truly resourceful people do both. They solve what they can by themselves, and they network or ask for input when needed. They are, in a sense, resourceful, or full of resources both within and around them. Let me grab a little bit more. And then I can create more. And I could actually create more balloons, but I don't think we're there yet. And I don't think, you know what? I know I don't have any room up here. Let me go down here and find some room. There is a linen. Man, I have so much fine cloth. There's some linen cloth. Let's put this in here as well. Actually, I'll take that out. There we go. All right, let's gather some more. It's probably already reset. It's a low value resource, so there's going to be a lot of resetting of the resource. I use spells when I can, just because. And the axe is still needing to get some practice in, so. All right. And we still have the blessing for another 45 minutes left. The gathering, skinning, those type of outside blessings, which are, I might as well just tell you, they're gathering blessings. So mining, skinning, lumbering, wood cutting, right? So all those last an hour. All blessings last technically an hour. And technically there are some immediate effect blessings, they call them blessings, where you warp back to your home valley. It's an easy, fast travel method to get back to your home valley. Seeing if anybody's around. Okay. Alright, so moving my notes up on the other screen. That way I have the notes in front of me, but not technically in front of me. So resourcefulness. Anyway, resourcefulness also has a strong creative dimension. We often think of creativity in terms of artistic terms, right? A lot of people, when you say creativity, you're thinking, oh, artist, right? It's not always the case. As a matter of fact, why I picked up stones, randomly picking stuff up. Here we go. All right. But how we're going to apply it is we're thinking of, let's call it applied creativity, which is solving practical problems in original ways. Thomas Edison, right, one of history's greatest inventors, believed that in his connection between creativity and using scrap metals, or scrap materials, I should say, not metals, but materials. So he famously said, to invent, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. Which goes back to our invention is the mother of necessity. That's the only thing you have in front of you. So it's a vivid image, right? Think of a pile of junk as the limitation. It's not a pristine lab or expensive expensive kit. It's just junk, right? That's important to realize, because a lot of famous inventions come out of garages. HP inventors or founders of the company Hewlett-Packard came out of the garage, and now it's split into HP Inc. and HP Enterprise. But originally, it was all one company founded by Hewlett and Packard. Anyway, so what you need is a good imagination, as the resourcefulness to see possibilities in that junk. So Edison's life offers many examples. He tested thousands of different materials for a light bulb filament, everything from bamboo fibers to hair, making do with whatever he could think of, until he found something that worked. He didn't succeed because he had any fancy resources. He often didn't. He succeeded because he refused to be stymied by what he didn't have. Think about that. Focusing on his focus was what he did have. That, we say resourcefulness, but let's talk about just life in general. If we focus on what we don't have, it's going to be a long day. Not if you're like me, nobody has a lot of stuff. So we should be focusing on what we have versus what we don't. All right, to summarize this concept, move on here. Resourcefulness is a mindset and a skill set. It treats constraints as assets rather than liabilities. It's about asking, what can I do with this, instead of lamenting what you lack. In other words, in words of one more proverb, I should say, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Cliche perhaps, but perfectly captures the idea of turning a sour situation into something sweet and tasty and refreshing. Now that we know what resourcefulness means, let's see it in action across different domains. We'll start with on the personal level, the trials and triumphs of everyday life, and then we'll expand outward to workplaces, and finally to virtual, like gaming. More than likely, we'll cover the personal tonight, or in this episode, and then we'll do we'll expand to workplaces tomorrow, and then finally MMORPGs on the third episode. Depending on how fast we get through things and how well I can play the game at the same time I am looking at notes, because notes are important. I'm trying to remember where Flax is, so forgive me. Usually you go out, you find where the caches of resources are, and then you kind of map them out. And as a matter of fact, you can map them out here. I just don't choose to map out resources that are common. I want the rare resources mapped. That way it doesn't clutter my map. Let's see if there's anything down there. Yeah, see, there's a couple things down there. I didn't know these were down here because at one point there was a plan here and they took up the entire gully, and it was pretty fantastic, but I didn't know they had a road over the flax, so I had no idea this actually existed here. Anyway, let's start resourcefulness in personal life. So, resourcefulness often shines brightest in our personal lives when circumstances force us to be inventive, just to get by. You don't have to be an inventor or a hero, or sometimes, you don't have to. Sometimes it's in the little things. Maybe you've experienced something like this. The kitchen is almost empty and dinner time is near. So you throw together a meal from random leftovers in the refrigerator in the pantry, making a, quote, kitchen sink stew that, to your surprise, turns out to be delicious. You need a costume for a party and have no time to shop. So you dive into that closet, repurpose old outfits and some cardboard, and voila, you've got a convincing getup. These everyday MacGyver moments are the examples of micro resourcefulness. And let me grab that and through that. Do that. I'm a little OCD when it comes to resources, but we're almost finished here. So, as far as the gathering, so I just need to find another part. And I almost forgot. I have 130. Okay. I wanted to see how much grace I have, because each time I do use grace on this specific skill, or these specific skills, that it costs me 20 for an hour. So I got plenty of time. Let's see. I'm trying to find stuff that doesn't look like anybody's around either. The early access has been making little tweaks to the game. However, it isn't exactly release note. Wow, this guy's been busy. This looks pretty good. That's pretty cool. I like it. Very cool. I like the architecture on this. Look at that. You get a little fishing pier or boat pier. We don't have boats, but it'd be cool when we do. If we do, I don't know. I'm hoping they do something like that. It would be cool if they did, but I'm not expecting it. Let's go ahead and swim across. I'm not holding my breath. It'd be a nice to have, not a must have. Fighting is a must have. I need better controls in fighting. So hopefully they start there. This house, although it is in a nice position aesthetically, probably took a lot of the flax away from me to mine. That's okay. see what's over here. I don't want to get into the forest because the forest does not have it. It relaxes anywhere but the forest. Go back to my side of the valley. I'm sure if some of it has regrown, so I'll do that. Luckily, this person decided to build a nice bridge across the river, so I don't have to swim. In reality, you'd probably flood out the entire valley because you're stopping up the river. That's okay. We can suspend the disbelief, right? Suspension of belief. There's some. There we go. All right. So, during tough times, the entire community, let's get back to it. Communities have had to be resourceful in daily life. History gives us plenty of examples. For example, the Great Depression. It's an era in America, circa 19. It started late 1929, but it really crashed early 1930. And it had many ingredients. Ingredients were scarce or expensive, so cooks invented desperation pies. That was an actual thing. Desperation pie. These recipes that mimicked traditional pies, but used whatever was on hand. Imagine craving an apple pie when apples are unavailable. And at the time, remember, shipping was completely different in the 1930s. So, there used to be some here. Anyway, so let's get out of the minutia of how the apples were transported. Anyway, one clever solution was actually to create a mock apple pie. It was made from crackers, sugar, and spices, which surprisingly tasted like the real thing. People also made vinegar pie as a substitute for lemon pie when actual lemons were too costly. These so-called make-do pies showed remarkable ingenuity. A food historian explained that desperation pie is basically a pie that you made when you had nothing left to make it with. Bakers literally turned nothing into something. Such recipes sound odd. But they kept families fed and spirits up in hard times. As a testament, that creativity flourishes under constraints, or that creativity flourishes under constraints when you must make do or figure out how. Right? One of the most inspiring personal stories of resourcefulness comes from a small village in Malawi, Africa. Malawi, Africa. I think that's how you pronounce it. In the early 2000s, there was a teenager named William Kamkwamba. William's family were farmers around 2001. Severe drought, famine struck the whole region. They had almost nothing. Almost nothing. No electricity, no money for schools, barely enough food. But William had access to a tiny community library. And at 14 years old, armed with curiosity and an old science book, he decided to tackle a huge problem. Bring electricity to his home so his family could pump water and irrigate crops. With no formal training, and very few materials, just some scrap metal, wood, and bicycle parts, William designed and built a working windmill by himself. All right. Yeah. Trying to not pick up stuff I don't need. And we'll get back to the lecture here in a second. MetaSuite. Where did I get MetaSuite? I must have been not looking at the screen. I don't need MetaSuite from my positions. I am an alchemist. And when I first played the game, just to give you an idea of how you should be playing this game, is anything you see, pick up. That's basically the mantra. You will need it later in the game. Or later in your pursuit of whichever expertise or profession you're evolving into. Okay, let's get back to William. So, this rickety windmill that he built looked like a crazy contraption of twisted pipes, bent bicycle wheel, and it was bent. Actually generated power. It powered a light bulb and a radio in his house. Eventually, even the water pump. Think about it. A 14-year-old in a famine, without resources or schooling, built a wind turbine from junk because he refused to accept that it couldn't be done. Talk about turning limits into a launch pad. His village thought he was nuts at first, scrounging garbage from yards for parts. But once they saw the windmill spinning and the lights coming on, they were astonished. William's resourcefulness quite literally changed his life and spread the news. Or I should say, as news spread, he got the chance to speak at a TED conference. He earned scholarships and wrote a memoir titled "The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind." The TED organizers, TEAD, right? If you're not familiar with TED conferences, but the TED organizers summarized his achievement beautifully. At age 14, in poverty and famine, a Malawian boy built a windmill to power his family's home. With scrap metal and sheer ingenuity, he transformed desperation into opportunity. Amazing, right? And I think I have to put one of these on the room. Okay. And make a living, yes. William's story highlights a few key aspects of resourcefulness worth noting. First, knowledge is a resource. Even though he lacked materials, he used knowledge from a book as a tool. Many times when we feel stuck, learning something new or recalling some old lesson, that can be that spark that helps us see a solution. Second, resourcefulness often requires courage and persistence. It's not an 80s montage, people. It takes time. It wasn't easy, physically or socially, for him to dig through the junk and stick with his project amid skepticism. But he treated each setback as a learning experience. This blade didn't work, I'll try a different angle, or I'll try another different material, or another material. That mindset, fail, learn, and try again, is common among resourceful people. In fact, psychologists talk about learned resourcefulness, which is basically the learned belief that you can handle challenges because you've handled them before. Over time, tackling small problems creatively builds confidence to face bigger problems or big problems or future problems. There is also an internal psychological side to resourcefulness. It's not just about inventing gadgets, it can be reinventing ourselves in response to hardship. Here, I'm reminded of the words of Viktor Frankl, an Austrian neurologist and philosopher who survived the Holocaust. Reflecting on resilience, Frankl, Frankl wrote, "When we no longer are able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." This quote from his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is profound. If you can't alter your external circumstances, you still have one powerful resource: your own attitude and approach. Frankl survived unimaginable constraints by adopting his mindset, finding meaning in suffering and maintaining hope. Most of us, thankfully, won't face trials as extreme as Frankl's. The principle applies to everyday struggles. For example, if you lose your job, a situation largely out of your control, being resourceful might start with changing yourself. Perhaps you learn a new skill, pivoting to a different industry, or even changing how you budget and live in the meantime. It's about looking for the lever you can pull, rather than lamenting the ones you can't. Often that lever is an internal one, your willingness to adapt. All right, let me moment to wow, I just realized I have all this stuff and no place to put it. Oh, I know where I can put it. Actually, you know what? I'll put it here. This is not a great place to put it because I like themes in my cases. However, because it's near my armory and my tailor shop, my tailoring area, I'll be able to find it fairly easily if I remember coming here. And I'm trying to think of maybe we do one more run. Maybe. Yeah, let's do one more run. What do you guys think? Yeah, let's do it. All right. Let's consider a lighter fictional analogy in this inner resourcefulness. Think of a video game where your character gets stripped of all the weapons and has to escape a dungeon. And I can tell you right now, that will happen in Pax Dei. That you'll be stripped of. If you die, you're stripped of everything. And you have to go back to your body in order to get all your stuff back. Nobody can take your stuff so long as you're not in the PvP area. However, after a certain amount of time, I believe they can come again. I think it releases to the general population of the server. So it's not unfamiliar to me, honestly. This is very much when you're a lower character, a lower level character, maybe. There's not really levels, but you get my meaning. A less experienced character in this, with the levels of skills low as combat and everything else, you'll die. And blocking and running away are very viable in this game. So let's continue. After I always keep myself fed. In the home valley, it's not as critical as in other areas of the map. Because you don't, well, honestly, there's no wandering monsters, so you pretty much know where the monsters are. You shouldn't run into them unexpectedly. But there are certain places in the map where if you don't know where they are, you could very much run into them unexpectedly. Meaning there's like fog or something to that effect. But anyway, at any rate, So at first it seems hopeless when you have nothing. But then you realize you can use the environment, especially in Pax Dei. Pick up a broken chair leg as a club, or use a torch on the wall to light your way. Maybe lure a monster into a trap instead of fighting it. In life, sometimes we use external weapons, right? Money, tools, support. We have only our wits. A resourceful mindset looks around and says, okay, what do I have here? What advantages or creative options exist in this scenario that aren't immediately obvious? What advantages or creative... sorry. I read the same question over. Anyway, there's a wonderful concept in Japanese culture called, I am going to... Muay Thai Naya? Or Mo... No, it's... Motaina, which means a sense of regret when something is wasted, and an ethos of using things fully. A resourceful person embodies motaina, squeezing usefulness out of every bit, whether it's time, materials, or even experiences. Like learning from a bad experience rather than letting it be in vain, that bad experience taking control of you. Some stuff up there. Let's see if I can get up here. Yeah. I don't know if I can get all of this because I will fall and you have a decent amount of hit points, but you gotta be careful. Wow. Can't say I fell. Yeah, this is really dangerous to do. Don't do this. You will die. If you do not know how to scale a wall, you will die. And I'm trying to use, there we go. Wow. Uh-oh. Let's go this way. Get off of this hill before I die. I'm sprinting, by the way, if you didn't know. I'm sprinting all the way down. For some reason, you stay, you don't slide as much. Anyway, where I am. All right, before we move on, one more person, like a personal example. Small, but illustrative. Perhaps you have a leaky pipe under your sink and no plumber. Could come for hours. Water spraying everywhere, potential damage escalating. In a pinch, you grab an old bike inner tube from your garage, cut a section, and wrap it tightly around the pipe, trying like a tourniquet or like a band-aid, if you will. The rubber seals the leak long enough until the professional help arrives. The plumber will probably laugh in admiration. But if you ever run out of, he'll probably say, hey, if you ever run out of tape, I know what to do now. It's a trivial scenario, but it shows the do-it-yourself ingenuity and resourcefulness often entails. Also, note, you use something in a new way, the rubber tube as a pipe bandage. This repurposing trick is a hallmark of resourcefulness. MacGyver did it on TV, and people do it in real life daily. The old door becomes a makeshift table. A smartphone flashlight serves as a bedside lamp when the power's out, and so on. So in personal life, whether you're surviving tough economic times, inventing something in your backyard, or just having a household hiccup, Resourcefulness is the key to thriving instead of just surviving. It turns adversity into a story of triumph, or at least a clever hack. So tomorrow, let me see. Yeah, we're at an hour. So tomorrow, we're going to take the idea into this idea of resourcefulness into the professional, where stakes can be high, and see how companies and peers turn limits into launchpads for innovation. And I'll just go a few more moments into resourcefulness for personal, because as we all know, things can get tough really quick. And that's okay. One of the things that we learn is if you're following the podcast, most of those questions that I provide in the resourcefulness scenarios, right? The questions of asking, right? They come from critical thinking. Right? You have to ask the questions. Socrates said, "Ask questions. You don't have to sit on your current knowledge." And one of the other things I wrote the note, but I know I needed to go back if I had time to kind of explain it. To reskill in life, in professional life, we'll talk tomorrow. But the example was given, so I do want to address it. If you have to reskill in your professional life, it's not a feat that you can do in a day. So ultimately, what I'm saying here is, please don't think of reskilling as the solution option. You might have to do several different things if you lose your job, or you're moving in between jobs or whatever. Planning is what I'm going with, guys. This is what I'm trying to say. Plan, ask questions, critically think through the strife, if you will. It isn't the end. That's the important takeaway. Resourcefulness, once you give up, you cannot be resourceful. It's impossible. Because you're looking for a tool you don't have, or you're going to spiral, right? Now, all of us, myself included, have been caught in this web, if you will, of, I wouldn't call it depression, but negative thinking. Resourcefulness, when you practice it enough, you'll be able to stop the critical thinking. Or I'm sorry, not stop the critical thinking. Stop the intrusive thoughts. Let's say it that way. Well, anyway, I'll do the professional life tomorrow. Let me know. I'm doing this recording, and I'm not going back and editing it. I'm kind of doing it as a live show, but I have to record it. What I'm really doing here is I'm testing the OBS filters for my microphone to see if this audio sounds better than my live stream. So if you do note, I did it. If you do note any differences in the live stream, if you go back and check out the live stream, and then you check out the recorded streams, the ones that aren't live, let me know. I'd appreciate some feedback on those. I mean, I have monitors and such, but the monitors, to be quite honest, they sound pretty good. And that's a problem, because if my monitors sound good and it doesn't sound good live, I have a setting somewhere. If you know that setting, drop it in the comments or hit me on X. I'm also on LinkedIn if you want to know my background and where I've written so many articles on LinkedIn. I want to say above 80 about leadership and AI and leadership and creating that ancient wisdom connection, the ancient philosophers' connections to current leadership methods, psychology, and research. I also have a music channel. Check that out. I'm coming out with another music video in a couple weeks. Effortless Motion, by any chance? It sounds really good. Suno AI writes the music. I help with the lyrics and prompt it, direct it with the instrumental and the vocal direction within the Suno AI. Sometimes it listens to me, and sometimes it's just like an artist, and it doesn't listen to me. But anyway, with all that said, we'll cut it here. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night or a great day, depending where you are in the world. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button and the notification bell. Let's make this podcast go viral, because I believe I'm really hitting on tools everyone can use. As humans, we will excel when we make ourselves the best version of ourselves. And we'll bring people along on the ride. Meaning, once everybody sees how much of an improvement your thinking is, your attitude, they'll want to come along with you, and they'll ask, hey, where did you learn that? How did you learn that? Because this isn't the end. This is just the beginning of resourcefulness, right? Or the critical thinking episode. I just let you're in the water. But it's up to you to swim to the other side of the pool. Immerse yourself in the knowledge. That simply I can't do within an hour, 2 hour episode, or even multiple episodes. I wouldn't do it justice. If you have any questions or any comments, leave them, because I do take constructive feedback. Try to be as constructive as possible, and that helps for sure. And then I'll see you tomorrow night. So, outro coming up. Again, Suno AI, really good song. I should make it into a music video. Have a good night, everyone. Be safe.
With every step, a lesson learned. From fire's heat to the fields I've turned. The blade and bow, the forge and flame. I sharpen my skills, I play the game. Each day brings a challenge I must face. I train my hands with careful grace. From alchemy's art to the hunter's way, I'll find the strength to seize the day. I carve my path, I walk the line, in the shadow of the ancient sign. Through trial and toil, I'll find my way, learning more with each passing day. The skill of survival, the will to thrive, in a world where the strong survive. I face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I'm building my strength, I'm standing tall. In the heart of the wild, in the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready to fight. From the herbs I find to the iron I mold, each lesson learned is a story told. The stars above, they guide my hand. As I hone my craft, I take my stand. In the quiet woods, in the mountains chill, I push myself, I shape my will. With each new tool and every lore, I'm stronger now than I was before. I carve my path, I walk the line, in the shadow of the ancient sign. Through trial and toil, I'll find my way, learning more with each passing day. The skill of survival, the will to thrive, in a world where the strong survive. I face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I learn keep me on track. With each new skill, the stronger I grow. In the face of the storm, I let my courage show. I've tasted defeat, I felt the sting, but I rise again with each new spring. For knowledge is power, and wisdom the key. I'm forging my path, I'm breaking free. The skill of survival, the will to thrive. In a world where the strong survive, I'll face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I'm building my strength, I'm standing tall. In the heart of the wild and the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready to fight.